Lighthouses have guided ships safely through treacherous waters for centuries. But some lighthouses do more than giddy. They watch, they whisper, and sometimes they trap wandering souls. Along America's coasts, haunted lighthouses stand tall, their beams cutting through the fog, hiding secrets that refuse to rest. Visitors have reported ghostly figures climbing spiral staircases, eerie footsteps echoing in empty halls, and lights flickering without reason. Tonight, we explore 20 of the most haunted lighthouses on American shores, where the living and the dead share the same view of the ocean. Lighthouses are symbols of safety and hope, but some hold darker stories than any stormy sea. Across the United States, haunted lighthouses have stood for centuries, witnessing tragedies at sea, violent storms, shipwrecks, and untimely deaths. Some are home to restless keepers who perished while maintaining the light. Others are haunted by sailors, shipwreck victims, or mysterious apparitions seen by visitors late at night. Many report unexplained noises, clanging bells, footsteps on creaking floors, or whispered warnings in the fog. Lights flicker when no one is near. Doors slam without cause. Shadows move along hallways, vanishing when directly observed. Imagine standing on a lighthouse balcony, wind whipping your hair, fog rolling across the ocean. A figure appears at the top of the spiral staircase, then disappears. The light pulses strangely, and you hear your name whispered over the crashing waves. Would you climb the staircase to see who it is, or retreat, heart pounding, knowing the lighthouse might never let you leave? As we explore these 20 haunted lighthouses, picture isolated towers standing against the roaring sea, dark corridors, and the lingering presence of souls who never left. Before we begin, ask yourself if you were alone in a lighthouse at midnight and felt a hand on your shoulder, would you turn around or run? The St. Augustine Lighthouse rises tall against the Florida coastline, a sentinel over centuries of maritime history. By day, its white walls gleam in the sun, and the rhythmic crashing of waves creates a serene soundtrack for visitors. Visitors climbing the spiraling staircase often speak of sudden chills that travel up the spine, an almost imperceptible shift in the air that suggests the presence of unseen observers. Some claim to see faint figures ascending or descending the stairs, figures dressed in clothing reminiscent of keepers from a bygone era. They move deliberately, pausing to glance outward at the darkened horizon, then vanish when approached. These apparitions are not aggressive, but their presence is undeniable, leaving a lingering sense of quiet unease. Fog frequently rolls in from the Atlantic, settling thickly around the base of the lighthouse. Within this mist, flashes of light appear, seemingly without source, darting across the windows and reflecting off the metal railings. Some describe the phenomenon as resembling lanterns swinging in the night, while others report that the lights follow them as they move through the tower. Some describe the phenomenon as resembling lanterns swinging in the night, while others report that the lights follow them as they move through the tower. The effect is mesmerizing and unsettling, a reminder that the lighthouse holds more than just memories of ships and storms. The effect is mesmerizing and unsettling, a reminder that the lighthouse holds more than just memories of ships and storms. Voices are another common occurrence, ethereal and fleeting. Visitors report hearing their names called softly, or the echo of commands and instructions that could only come from someone accustomed to guiding ships through treacherous waters. Footsteps accompany the sounds, rising and falling on the wooden floors. Yet when looked for, the source is never found. The wind and waves seem to carry the echoes, blending the natural and supernatural into an indistinguishable soundscape. The history of the lighthouse adds weight to these experiences. Built in the 19th century, it has seen countless keepers endure long nights, storms, and the relentless pull of the sea. Tragedy is woven into its story, including the loss of life among those charged with maintaining the beacon. Visitors and staff have long speculated that these events leave behind a form of residual energy, a presence that remains to ensure the safety of those who climb the tower. Those who venture to the balcony at the top often feel a heightened intensity. The view is breathtaking, with the ocean stretching to the horizon and the city lights of St. Augustine twinkling in the distance. Yet amid this beauty, many experience sudden cold drafts that sweep across the terrace, unaccompanied by wind. Some hear the unmistakable sound of a voice, clear and close, whispering words that are almost intelligible. The combination of the elements of the height, the isolation, and the historical weight creates an atmosphere where the past seems to overlap with the present. Photographs taken within the lighthouse occasionally capture unexplained phenomena. Lights that do not correspond to the known sources, or shadows that move independently of the people in the frame, appear in images. These visual anomalies reinforce the stories of visitors and staff who have sensed something watching or walking unseen. Each report adds to the legend, creating a rich tapestry of experiences that draws curious minds and paranormal enthusiasts alike. Photographs taken within the lighthouse occasionally capture unexplained phenomena. Even the surrounding grounds hold a quiet, haunting presence. The keeper's house and outbuildings, weathered by decades of coastal storms, stand silent yet imposing. Some claim to hear footsteps along the paths or see fleeting shadows among the structures. The rustle of leaves and the distant cries of seagulls merge with the subtle sounds of the unseen, amplifying the feeling that the lighthouse is alive in ways beyond human understanding. Stories of the St. Augustine Lighthouse are shared by countless visitors, each adding their own chapter to the ongoing narrative. Some are skeptical, attributing experiences to imagination, fatigue, or the play of light and shadow. Others are convinced, recounting their encounters with an authenticity that resonates with those who have witnessed similar phenomena. What remains undeniable is the sense of presence, the tangible feeling that the lighthouse is more than bricks and mortar, that it is a keeper of memories, of lives once lived, and of secrets whispered across time. As night deepens, the fog thickens and the sounds of the sea become muted. The lighthouse stands steadfast, a beacon not only for sailors but for the curious and the brave who seek to walk its stairs and experience its mysteries. The figures of former keepers may appear, the lights may flicker in the fog, and the voices may call softly to those who listen. For those who venture here, the St. Augustine Lighthouse is a place where history, tragedy, and the supernatural converge, and the presence of the past is never far from sight or sound. Visitors leave with memories that linger long after the climb. Stories of cold drafts, ghostly footsteps, and mysterious lights. The lighthouse remains, unwavering and watchful. A timeless guardian of both the living and those who remain beyond. It is a place that commands respect, invites curiosity, and offers an experience that resonates with the mysteries of the sea. And the echoes of history preserved in every stone and shadow. The lighthouse remains, unwavering and watchful, a timeless guardian of both the living and those who remain beyond. It is a place that commands respect, invites curiosity, and offers an experience that resonates with the mysteries of the sea and the echoes of history. Preserved in every stone and shadow. The lighthouse remains, unwavering and watchful, a timeless guardian of both the living and those who remain beyond. Portland Head Light rises majestically on the rocky coast of Maine, its whitewashed walls standing against the relentless Atlantic waves. The lighthouse has guided countless sailors safely through treacherous waters for centuries, yet amidst its beauty and history, a shadowed presence lingers, leaving some visitors with stories that defy explanation. The cliffs surrounding Portland Head Light are rugged and windswept, jagged rocks jutting into the frothy sea below. During the day, the waves crash with a powerful rhythm, a reminder of the ocean's might. But as twilight descends, the landscape takes on a different character. Mist curls along the rocks, wrapping the lighthouse in a veil of ghostly fog that seems alive, moving with intention and depth beyond the ordinary. Visitors often speak of shadowy figures near the entrance, fleeting shapes that vanish when approached. They appear in peripheral vision, standing along the pathways or watching silently from the cliff edges. These forms are indistinct yet human-like, suggesting figures from the past who once walked these grounds. Their presence is subtle but undeniable, leaving a lingering unease and a sense that the lighthouse is watched even when empty. Footsteps are another common phenomenon. Some report hearing the distinct sound of boots against the worn stone floors or the gravel paths outside. The sounds appear without a visible source, echoing in the stillness or mingling with the ambient roar of the ocean. At times, the steps move in patterns as if someone is pacing deliberately, a rhythm that contrasts with the natural chaos of the waves and wind. Fog on the cliffs adds an ethereal quality to the sight. Visitors have described shapes forming within the mist. Figures that appear and disappear, sometimes resembling sailors or lighthouse keepers of centuries past. The fog moves with a strange consciousness, parting to reveal a shadow, and closing again as if concealing secrets from those who gaze too long. The interplay of wind, sea spray, and fog creates an ever-shifting theater, where reality and legend blur together. The lighthouse itself is steeped in history. Built in the late 18th century, it has witnessed countless storms, shipwrecks, and rescues. Its walls carry the memory of those who kept the light burning through darkness, ensuring safe passage for others. Some suggest that these memories have imprinted upon the place, manifesting as the figures and sounds reported by modern visitors. The history of Portland Head Light is inseparable from the stories of the unseen, giving context to experiences that seem otherwise inexplicable. Visitors often recount a growing sense of being watched as they traverse the pathways. Shadows appear just beyond clear sightlines. Sudden movements catch attention before dissolving into the mist. The ocean wind carries faint murmurs, voices that are impossible to attribute. Whispers echo with a resonance both human and otherworldly. The combination of natural beauty and supernatural suggestion creates an atmosphere that is captivating and unsettling in equal measure. At night, the lighthouse's beam cuts through darkness, a steadfast guardian over the ocean. Yet even with this guiding light, the cliffs remain a realm of uncertainty. Those who linger after sunset speak of cold drafts that seem localized, brushing against skin in contrast to the wind's natural pattern. Shapes move at the edges of vision, footsteps echo across empty pathways, and the fog forms figures that vanish when directly observed. It is an environment where perception is heightened, and the ordinary rules of space and time seem flexible. Accounts of sightings vary but share a common thread of subtlety and presence. Shadowy figures are rarely threatening, they seem to watch, to mark the passage of visitors, as if maintaining a connection to the lighthouse and its history. Some see shapes resembling lighthouse keepers tending their duties, others perceive sailors paused mid-step along the cliffs. Every report reinforces the sense that Portland Head Light is more than a structurea, it is a repository of stories, memories, and unseen activity that transcends generations. The natural elements contribute to the atmosphere. Waves crash against rocks with unpredictable power, wind whistles through crevices, and fog drifts in from the Atlantic with deliberate rhythm. These elements create sensory experiences that enhance the perception of the supernatural, making shadows sharper, sounds more mysterious, and figures more fleeting. The cliffs and lighthouse combine to form a setting that is both breathtaking and eerie, a place where the past feels vividly present. For those drawn to history and the unexplained, Portland Head Light offers a unique experience. Each visit is an opportunity to observe the interplay of light, shadow, fog, and sound in a location that has been touched by centuries of human presence and natural force. The shadowy figures, ghostly footsteps, and mist shapes invite reflection on what it means for a place to retain memory, to echo with the presence of those who once walked its grounds. As the sun rises over the Atlantic, the lighthouse returns to its role as a guardian of the coast. Waves continue their eternal rhythm, and fog dissipates into the morning light. Yet the stories of Portland Head Light endure, whispered among those who have glimpsed the shadows, heard the footsteps, or watched the shapes in the mist. It is a place where history and the unseen converge, and where the mystery of the cliffs and lighthouse invites curiosity, respect, and wonder in all who wander there. Cape Hatteras Lighthouse rises from the shifting sands of North Carolina, its black and white stripes a beacon for sailors along the treacherous outer banks. The Atlantic Ocean stretches endlessly beyond, waves crashing against hidden shoals, a reminder of the countless ships that have met their fate along this coastline. The lighthouse stands as both a guardian and a witness, its presence intertwined with stories of tragedy, survival, and the unexplained. Visitors to the lighthouse often speak of an atmosphere thick with history and something more elusive. The spiral stairs wind upward in a tight embrace of brick and iron, echoing the footsteps of those who climb them. Some report sudden chills along the ascent, a drop in temperature that cannot be explained by wind or shadow. The air feels dense, heavy with memories. And at times, the sound of phantom voices drifts along the stone walls, faint but unmistakable. The waters surrounding Cape Hatteras have earned the nickname Graveyard of the Atlantic for good reason. Storms sweep in with little warning. And strong currents pull ships toward hidden sandbars. Over centuries, countless sailors have perished here, leaving their stories etched into the fabric of the coast. Locals and visitors alike suggest that the spirits of these lost souls linger, drawn to the light and shelter the lighthouse offers while unable to find peace. At night, the lighthouse transforms into a place of heightened mystery. The wind carries the rhythmic crash of waves and the low hum of the ocean. But within this natural soundscape, some claim to hear cries that do not belong to any living being. The spiral stairs, in particular, are a focus of activity. Visitors ascending the tower often feel unseen presences brushing past or behind them. Cold spots appear without warning, lingering long enough to make the climb tense and unsettling. Sightings of phantom figures have been reported along the lighthouse grounds. Shadows flicker near the base, sometimes taking the form of sailors or indistinct shapes in period clothing. They vanish when approached, leaving only the sense of being watched. And the distant echo of footsteps over sand and gravel. Some claim that the spirits are not malicious, but restless, replaying moments of fear and desperation from long ago. The lighthouse itself seems alive in ways beyond its guiding light. Its walls, worn by time and weather, carry the echoes of countless voices. The iron railing along the stairs hums faintly with energy when the wind is high. Observers note that the tower can feel different at various hours, sometimes warm with sunlight and sea breeze, other times cold, oppressive, as if the past has returned to walk among the living. Historical accounts of shipwrecks and rescues reinforce the aura of the lighthouse. Written reports and oral histories describe sailors disappearing in storms, their cries carried inland by wind and tide. Survivors speak of lights on the horizon that do not belong to any vessel, guiding or perhaps luring them through darkness. These stories persist through generations, fueling the belief that the lighthouse is a threshold between the world of the living and those who were lost to the sea. During the day, the lighthouse is a place of beauty and reflection, its structure imposing against a backdrop of sky and sea. Yet even in sunlight, some visitors sense the lingering presence of those who did not survive. The spiral stairs, the keeper's quarters, and the surrounding sands hold a quiet resonance, a reminder that this place has witnessed countless moments of courage and despair. Shadows can appear at the edges of vision, and a sudden gust of wind can carry whispers that vanish as quickly as they arrive. Even modern navigation and technology cannot erase the mysteries tied to Cape Hatteras Lighthouse. Cameras, lights, and equipment may capture its physical form, but they do not capture the intangible presence that many feel. The combination of natural hazards, tragic history, and unexplained phenomena creates an atmosphere that is compelling, chilling, and unforgettable. The experience of visiting Cape Hatteras is one of immersion into both history and the unknown. Each step along the grounds, each turn of the spiral stairs, offers an encounter with a legacy of the sea and its secrets. The lighthouse stands as a sentinel, guarding sailors from danger, and as a monument to those who were never found. It is a place where the boundaries between life and loss, light and shadow, history and haunting, converge into a living story that continues to intrigue all who come near. The lighthouse and its surroundings are more than a tourist destination. They are a narrative in stone, brick, and wind. A place where tragedy and mystery intertwine. Those who climb the stairs or walk along the sand feel a connection to something beyond. An echo of lives that once struggled against the sea. Cape Hatteras Lighthouse remains a symbol of guidance, survival, and the haunting persistence of memory. Offering an experience that lingers long after one departs. Carried on the wind, the waves, and the whispers of the lost. Pemaquid Point Lighthouse stands on the rugged coast of Maine, a sentinel over the crashing waves and jagged rocks. The lighthouse has guided countless sailors to safety for over 2 centuries, but as the sun dips below the horizon, a different presence seems to emerge. The fading light casts long shadows across the granite cliffs. And the air grows heavy with the scent of salt and seaweed. Visitors often describe a feeling of being watched. As if the spirits of those who once depended on the lighthouse linger in quiet vigilance. As dusk settles, the lighthouse becomes a place where history and legend intersect. Ghostly apparitions have been reported moving along the cliffs and near the light itself. These figures vanish when approached, leaving behind only the echo of footsteps on stone and the distant roar of the Atlantic. Inside the lighthouse, unusual occurrences are often reported. Doors are said to open and close on their own, swinging with an invisible hand. Lights flicker unpredictably, and the soft sound of distant voices can sometimes be heard, carrying across the spiraling staircase. Visitors have described sudden chills, a sensation of cold that moves through the body despite the evening air. It is as if the lighthouse itself remembers the countless lives that have passed through its walls. The history of Pemaquid Point is steeped in maritime tragedy. Shipwrecks and storms have claimed lives along these treacherous shores. And some believe the spirits of those lost at sea never fully left. Each apparition or unexplained movement is a reminder of the peril that once defined this stretch of coastline. The lighthouse, built to protect sailors, now also serves as a beacon for those who wish to glimpse the otherworldly. Even the surrounding landscape contributes to the atmosphere of mystery. Waves crash relentlessly against the rocks, their spray rising into the cool evening air. Fog often rolls in from the ocean, obscuring the view and transforming the familiar cliffs into shifting shapes and shadows. The lighthouse beam cuts through the mist, a steady pulse in an otherwise uncertain world, and sometimes the figures of long-dead sailors appear to move alongside its rotating light. Visitors describe encounters that linger in memory long after leaving. Some have seen sailors gazing out toward the horizon, their expressions lost in thought. Or performing tasks such as adjusting ropes and scanning the sea. Others report hearing the faint creak of the old wooden floors, as though unseen hands walk the passageways, maintaining the lighthouse in ways that defy explanation. Even the smallest details, a whisper of wind through the windows or the scent of salt and timber, seem to carry the weight of history. The interplay of sound, light, and shadow creates a cinematic experience. The beam of the lighthouse sweeps across the cliffs, illuminating the darkened edges of the coastline where figures sometimes appear and vanish. Each gust of wind seems to carry echoes of past conversations, and the spray of the sea catches the fading light, glimmering like fragments of memory. Every element of Pemaquid Point contributes to its haunting presence, from the towering granite walls to the endless stretch of ocean beyond. Some visitors report an inexplicable feeling of being drawn into the past. The combination of the rugged setting, the lighthouse itself, and the occasional spectral figures evokes a sense of timelessness. Time feels suspended along the cliffs, as though the lives of the sailors, keepers, and lost travelers are layered on top of the present. This is a place where history is alive, and the boundary between the living and the spectral seems thin. Stories of ghostly encounters continue to draw curious visitors and paranormal enthusiasts. The lighthouse has witnessed countless storms and shipwrecks. And each tragedy seems to leave an imprint. Whether it is the faint image of a sailor pacing the edge of the cliff, or the soft creak of a door swinging without wind, the experiences all point to a lingering presence. The lighthouse stands as both a historical landmark and a place where the mysteries of the past are still palpable, even for those who do not witness a ghostly figure. The atmosphere of Pemaquid Point is undeniable. The sound of the waves, the weight of the wind, and the isolation of the cliffs create a sense of awe and reverence. Visitors leave with stories to tell, feeling the presence of the lighthouse's past inhabitants in subtle ways. From unexplained chills to fleeting shadows that vanish when noticed, Pemaquid Point Lighthouse remains a symbol of guidance and safety. Yet its haunted reputation reminds all who visit that the past is never truly gone. The spirits of sailors and lighthouse keepers seem to linger, watching over the cliffs and waves they once knew. Every evening, as the light sweeps across the darkened rocks and the Atlantic stretches endlessly beyond, the ghostly echoes of history quietly reveal themselves to those willing to witness them. The lighthouse stands, steadfast against time and tide, a monument to the lives lived and lost along Mania's rugged coast. It is a place where the natural beauty of the cliffs meets the haunting presence of the past, creating an experience that is both mesmerizing and chilling. Visitors leave with a renewed sense of the oceana's power, the fragility of life, and the enduring presence of those who never return from the sea. Pemaquid Point continues to guide sailors, inspire wonder, and silently harbor the stories of ghostly figures that walk its cliffs long after dusk has fallen. Barnegat Lighthouse rises over the New Jersey coastline, standing as a sentinel against the Atlantic waves. By day, it is a landmark of history and maritime navigation, its white walls gleaming in the sunlight while visitors climb its spiral stairs to take in panoramic views of the surrounding sands and water. Yet as twilight falls and the ocean mist drifts along the cliffs, the lighthouse reveals a different side, one steeped in mystery and whispers of the past. Visitors to the lighthouse often speak of sensations that cannot be explained. As they ascend the tower, the air grows cooler, a sudden chill brushing against the skin despite the summer sun. Footsteps echo faintly on the old wooden steps, though no one else is present. Some feel as if they are being watched, their eyes drawn to corners of the stairwell where shadows linger longer than they should. These subtle occurrences stir a quiet tension. A sense that the lighthouse is more than an architectural marvel. That it is alive with the memories of those who once tended its light. At the top of the tower, the view is breathtaking. The Atlantic stretches endlessly, waves rolling toward the shoreline with a rhythmic, hypnotic motion. Yet even here, where the beauty of the sea is at its peak, the lighthouse holds a spectral presence. Visitors report seeing glowing orbs drifting near the railing, lights that move independently of any source. They float and shimmer, sometimes hovering just out of reach, as if watching the watchers, observing those who dare to climb to the heights where the wind bites and the waves are visible far below. The cliffs surrounding Barnegat are another place where the supernatural seems to manifest. Some have claimed to see a shadowy figure standing at the edge, still and silent, its gaze fixed on the horizon. The figure vanishes when approached, leaving only a lingering sense of being observed. The experience is unnerving, yet many feel compelled to continue, drawn by the lighthouse's history and the stories whispered among those who have walked its stairs before. The lighthouse has long been a hub of maritime life, guiding sailors safely past treacherous shoals and hidden rocks. Those who worked here endured long nights of solitude, their lives intertwined with the ebb and flow of the tides. It is believed that some of their presence remains, lingering in the spaces where they once walked, a quiet guardianship that persists beyond death. The cold drafts, the faint echoes, and the sudden lights seem to be reminders of lives spent in service, of the vigilance required to protect those navigating the sea. Inside the tower, the spiral staircase curves upward, worn by countless footsteps over decades. The walls themselves seem to absorb the history, resonating with the memories of lighthouse keepers and visitors alike. Some hear faint whispers, almost indistinguishable, carried on the wind that filters through cracks and openings. The sounds are subtle, easily attributed to the elements, yet they leave a lingering impression, a sense that the lighthouse holds stories too persistent to fade. The atmosphere becomes more intense as night deepens. The cliffs are cloaked in darkness, the ocean a vast expanse of shadow. At times, the glowing orbs intensify, their movement synchronized with the distant crash of waves. They illuminate sections of the tower and the surrounding rocks, revealing glimpses of the rugged landscape and the lighthouse in a spectral light. Those who witness these phenomena describe a mixture of awe and unease, an understanding that the site is a convergence of history, memory, and something beyond ordinary perception. Barnegat Lighthouse is more than a historic landmark, it is a living repository of maritime life and human endeavor. The experiences of visitors, whether subtle or profound, contribute to its enduring legend. Cold drafts on the stairs, the faint sound of unseen footsteps, and the spectral glow of orbs are repeated across generations. Each encounter a thread in the tapestry of stories that surround the lighthouse. The presence atop the cliffs serves as a reminder of the thin line between the seen and unseen. The shadowy figures, the whispered echoes, and the drifting lights encourage reflection on the passage of time. The solitude of those who once kept watch. And the lingering impact of lives dedicated to service. The lighthouse stands as a beacon not only for sailors but for the curious, the brave, and those willing to witness the delicate balance of history and the supernatural. Even as visitors descend from the tower, the impressions remain. The path down the spiral staircase carries the echoes. The chill of unseen presences. And the memory of lights that float unbound. The cliffs hold their silent sentinel, watching over both land and sea. Barnegat Lighthouse remains steadfast. A monument to human perseverance. And a reminder that some places, touched by history and solitude, never fully release the spirits that dwell within. By the time the night fully settles, the lighthouse becomes a silhouette against the starry sky. A guardian of both the physical and the unseen. Those who have walked its heights leave with a sense of having glimpsed something beyond. An understanding that the past lingers where the waves meet the cliffs. And that Barnegat Lighthouse is as much a keeper of spirits as it is a guide for ships. East Point Lighthouse stands sentinel at the edge of New Jersey, its brick tower rising against the endless horizon where sky meets water. For over a century, the light has guided mariners safely through the treacherous Delaware Bay, a steadfast beacon amidst shifting tides and relentless storms. Yet beneath its history of service lies a more elusive presence, whispers of those who once tended the lamp and linger still among the shadows. The lighthouse sits upon a narrow stretch of land, surrounded on three sides by the dark expanse of the bay. During the day, gulls will overhead and waves lap gently against the shore, creating a tranquil setting that belies the stories told after sunset. The water absorbs the fading light, becoming a mirror for the moon and stars, while the tower casts long, angular shadows across the sand. It is in this twilight that the lighthouse reveals its most mysterious aspect. Visitors have reported seeing phantom figures along the balcony of the tower, fleeting shapes that seem to move with purpose. Some appear to stand watch over the waters, gazing toward the horizon as if ensuring the safety of unseen sailors. Others pace quietly, their presence suggested by a shift of shadow or the echo of a solitary footstep on the worn wooden floor. These figures vanish when approached, leaving only a lingering impression of motion and the faint scent of salt and old stone. The water surrounding East Point is known for strange, unexplainable lights. Observers have described small glimmers dancing on the waves, flickering as if alive, rising and falling without cause. Some lights appear close to the shore, illuminating the sand in brief flashes, while others drift farther out, reflecting in the bay like ghostly lanterns. The combination of these spectral lights with the shadowed forms on the balcony creates an eerie tableau that blurs the line between reality and legend. The lighthouse has weathered countless storms, and its history is etched into the very walls. Keepers of the light endured long nights and harsh conditions, maintaining the lamp with care and dedication. It is said that some of their spirits remain, bound by duty to continue their watch even in death. Footsteps echo along the stairs, doors creak as though moved by invisible hands, and the occasional clang of metal resonates through the empty tower. These subtle signs suggest that the lighthouse is more than a buildinga, it is a living memory, a space where the past lingers palpably. On foggy nights, the atmosphere becomes particularly charged. The mist rolls in from the bay, enveloping the lighthouse and obscuring the water's surface. Shadows appear more pronounced, and the spectral lights seem closer, flickering through the haze. Visitors speak of a sense of being observed, a weight of presence that presses without visible form. The combination of fog, darkness, and history creates a scene that is both captivating and unnerving, a quiet reminder that East Point is a place where the ordinary and the extraordinary converge. Even in daylight, the lighthouse retains a subtle mystery. Its red brick FAA section A is weathered but resilient, a symbol of endurance. The balcony railings, worn by wind and salt, evoke the countless hands that once grasped them. Some say that during certain hours, the figures of former keepers can be glimpsed in reflections on the bay or in the shifting patterns of sunlight on the tower walls. These sightings are fleeting and easily dismissed, yet they persist in the accounts of those attuned to the lighthouse's history and atmosphere. The surrounding landscape adds to the sense of isolation and suspense. Grassy dunes and sandy pathways frame the approach to the tower, creating a feeling of seclusion even during the day. At night, the sound of waves crashing against the shore mixes with the whistle of the wind, producing an almost musical cadence. This natural rhythm serves as a backdrop for the unexplainable, amplifying the perception of movement, light, and sound that cannot be easily rationalized. Those who visit East Point Lighthouse often describe a complex blend of awe and unease. The beauty of the coastal setting is undeniable. Yet it is tempered by the subtle, persistent presence of the unseen. Figures on the balcony, phantom lights in the bay, and inexplicable noises all contribute to a narrative that stretches beyond the historical record. The lighthouse becomes a place where the boundary between past and present, living and departed, seems permeable, and where every step invites attention to the unseen world that coexists with our own. As dawn approaches, the lighthouse continues its vigil, the spectral figures retreating with the fading night. The bay returns to calm, and the tower's presence is once again firmly anchored in history and stone. Yet the stories of East Point endure, whispered in the accounts of those who have glimpsed the shadows, heard the footsteps, or watched the lights dancing across the water. The lighthouse remains a place of guidance, mystery, and quiet haunting, inviting curiosity and reflection in all who venture to its edge. Visitors leave with the sense that East Point Lighthouse is more than a historical landmark. It is a living monument to dedication, memory, and the inexplicable forces that inhabit the world around us. The presence of former keepers, the movement of shadowy figures, and the glow of phantom lights remind us that some places retain echoes of the past, visible and intangible, waiting for those willing to witness them. In this convergence of history, nature, and the unknown, East Point Lighthouse stands as a testament to the enduring power of place, and the subtle ways in which the unseen continues to shape our experience of the world. Perched dramatically on a cliff overlooking Lake Superior, Split Rock Lighthouse has guided countless ships through treacherous waters since the early 20th century. Its imposing tower stands against the horizon, whitewashed and resolute, a sentinel watching over a lake that has claimed more lives than anyone can count. The lighthouse is a testament to human perseverance, yet beneath its sturdy walls and gleaming light lies a history shadowed by tragedy and the lingering presence of those lost to the unforgiving waters. Visitors to Split Rock Lighthouse often speak of an atmosphere charged with something unseen. The wind sweeps across the rocky bluff, carrying with it the cries of the past, faint but unmistakable. Some report sudden drops in temperature as they explore the lighthouse keeper's quarters or ascend the tower. Doors that should remain closed slam inexplicably, echoing through empty rooms, leaving a sense of unease that lingers long after the sound fades. The waters of Lake Superior are legendary for their unpredictability. Storms appear with little warning, waves surge with unrelenting force, and ships that attempt to navigate these waters are at the mercy of Naturia's extremes. Over the decades, countless vessels have sunk along this shoreline, leaving sailors and passengers lost to the Lochia's icy depths. Many believe that the spirits of these shipwreck victims remain tied to the lighthouse, drawn to its light and unable to move on from the final moments of their lives. At night, the lighthouse becomes a place of heightened mystery. The beam of the tower cuts across the dark waters, illuminating the waves and the rocky shoreline. Observers have described hearing the cries of sailors carried on the wind, their voices mingling with the sound of the lake. Cold drafts follow visitors from room to room, inexplicable and sudden. And shadows flicker at the edges of vision, vanishing when one turns to confront them. The lighthouse keeper's quarters, once home to those charged with the safety of passing vessels, are central to many of these accounts. Footsteps are heard along creaking floors when no one is present. And the faint hum of voices can be heard through the walls. It is as if the lives once devoted to the lake and the lighthouse continue to echo, trapped in a space that bridges the living and the departed. Historical accounts reinforce the aura of Split Rock Lighthouse. Written records tell of harrowing rescues and the relentless battle against storms that threatened both lives and cargo. Families waited anxiously on the shore, hoping for the return of loved ones. Often in vain. Over time, the lighthouse itself has become more than a navigational aid. It is a monument to endurance. A silent witness to lives cut short. And to the courage of those who faced the lake's fury. The rocky cliffs and dense woods create shadows that shift with the movement of the sun and the wind. Even during daylight, the lighthouse feels charged with energy, an almost palpable awareness of the past. Visitors climbing the tower report feeling watched, a sensation that intensifies as the stairs wind upward toward the lantern room. The beam above does not just illuminate the lake, it illuminates the space where the living and the lost seem to converge. The lake itself has a voice. Waves crash against the rocks with a rhythm that mirrors the heartbeat of the past. During storms, the sound intensifies, and it is not uncommon for witnesses to describe hearing screams or calls for help that cannot belong to anyone still alive. Many say that these are echoes of shipwrecks, cries preserved in the air, replaying in a loop that refuses to end. Even modern visitors with cameras and recording devices find themselves unsettled. Photographs sometimes capture faint shapes, shadowy forms in places where no one stood. Recordings pick up low frequencies, moans or whispers that have no physical source. The lighthouse, a structure of brick, metal, and stone, exists as a physical reminder of human effort. But it also holds the invisible weight of memory, grief, and unresolved stories. Split Rock Lighthouse offers an experience that is both educational and profoundly haunting. Every step along the grounds, every turn of the spiral stairs, connects visitors with the history of the region and the unseen presence that inhabits it. The cries from the lake, the sudden chills, and the movement of objects in empty rooms serve as reminders that the past is never truly gone. To visit Split Rock Lighthouse is to engage with a place where nature's power meets human determination, and where the line between the living and the lost blurs. It is a space of reflection, awe, and mystery. where the history of shipwrecks and storms converges with the lingering presence of spirits who have not yet found rest. The lighthouse continues to stand, guiding ships, preserving memory, and offering a glimpse into the shadows that accompany the light. Quoddy Island Lighthouse stands tall along the windswept shores of North Carolina. Its white tower a steadfast guide for sailors navigating the treacherous waters of the Outer Banks. The sound of crashing waves fills the air, mixing with the cries of seabirds and the constant wind that sweeps across the dunes. At first glance, the lighthouse appears serene, a historic monument standing against the horizon, yet for those who linger after dusk, a different story unfolds. Visitors have reported shadowy figures moving along the spiral staircase, their shapes indistinct but unmistakably human. Some claim to have seen these figures climbing the stairs, though no one else is present. The steps, worn smooth by decades of footfalls, seem to echo with the weight of unseen travelers. It is as if the spirits of past keepers and sailors remain, perpetually tending to the light and watching over the coast. Inside the lighthouse, the atmosphere shifts. The wooden floors creak under invisible footsteps. And soft, almost imperceptible voices drift through the air. Some visitors feel a sudden drop in temperature, a chill that cuts through the warm evening air. The feeling is fleeting yet undeniable, leaving those present with a heightened sense of awareness, and an unshakable sense that they are not alone. The history of Quoddy Island Lighthouse is intertwined with tragedy and the unpredictable power of the sea. Storms and shipwrecks have claimed countless lives along this stretch of coast, and many believe the lighthouse holds the memories of those lost. Reports of apparitions are not limited to the interior. Some witnesses have seen figures along the surrounding dunes and near the edge of the shoreline, appearing and disappearing like shadows caught in the fading light. As night falls, the lighthouse beam sweeps across the darkened landscape, its rotating light cutting through the mist and fog that often rolls in from the Atlantic. In this shifting light, the cliffs, dunes, and shoreline take on a spectral quality. Visitors speak of fleeting glimpses of sailors, cloaked in shadow, standing silently as they once did while scanning the sea for danger. The interplay of light and shadow creates an atmosphere of suspense, as if the past has come alive in the present. The surrounding area contributes to the sense of mystery. The wind carries whispers, almost like voices from long ago, and the rhythmic crash of waves against the shore underscores the isolation of the lighthouse. Fog and mist obscure the landscape, transforming familiar paths and dunes into unfamiliar shapes that shift with the light. Every element of the sand, the wind, the crashing surf works together to create a setting both mesmerizing and unsettling. Some visitors have described moments when the line between the living and the spectral seems to blur. A figure ascending the staircase might pause at a landing and vanish without a trace. Doors may swing open and closed with no apparent cause, and the faint smell of salt and old wood lingers in the air. Even the smallest details, from the squeak of a floorboard to the faint glimmer of light on the steps, contribute to an experience that feels alive with the presence of the past. Encounters at Quoddy Island Lighthouse are varied yet share a common theme. Whether it is the sight of a solitary figure in the tower, the sound of footsteps echoing through empty rooms, or the sudden, inexplicable chill, each moment is a reminder of the lives that once revolved around this lighthouse. The victims of the sea and the travelers who have passed through the area all leave an imprint that lingers in subtle ways. The lighthouse itself stands as a symbol of safety and vigilance, yet it also serves as a gateway to the past. Its white tower, rotating beacon, and interior stairwell are familiar to many, yet those who witness its unusual occurrences gain a glimpse into the stories that lie just beyond ordinary perception. Each reported sighting, every unexplained sound, adds to the rich tapestry of legend and mystery that surrounds this historic site. Even those who do not see figures or hear voices cannot escape the atmosphere. The combination of history, location, and natural elements creates a setting where the imagination is heightened. And the boundary between the living and the spectral feels tenuous. The lighthouse beam sweeping across foggy dunes, the cries of seabirds, and the distant murmur of the surf evoke a sense of awe. And an awareness of the many lives that intersected with this place. Quoddy Island Lighthouse continues to draw visitors, historians, and paranormal enthusiasts, all seeking to witness its stories firsthand. It remains a sentinel over the Outer Banks, standing resilient against wind, waves, and time. Yet quietly harboring the presence of those who came before. The shadowy figures, ghostly voices, and mysterious movements serve as a reminder that the past is never truly gone. As the night deepens and the Atlantic stretches endlessly beyond the dunes, the lighthouse stands illuminated by its own light, casting long shadows across the sand and the stairwell within. Those who venture here may find themselves touched by the echoes of history, glimpsing figures who maintain their eternal vigil. A place where maritime history and the supernatural intersect, a location of beauty, mystery, and lingering spirits that continue to captivate all who step into its presence. Point Reyes Lighthouse stands at the edge of California's rugged coastline, a sentinel against the relentless power of the Pacific Ocean. By day, the lighthouse guides vessels safely past treacherous waters, its light cutting through fog and spray, a symbol of safety and vigilance. Yet as evening falls and the mists rise from the cliffs, the lighthouse reveals a quieter, darker presence. Stories of ghostly figures and unexplained occurrences have long surrounded this isolated beacon, drawing those curious about the thin line between history and the supernatural. Visitors who climb the steep path to the lighthouse often feel the change in atmosphere before they even reach the tower. The wind off the ocean carries a chill, carrying with it a sense of anticipation, as if the cliffs themselves hold their breath. Some report hearing phantom footsteps echoing along the hallways and stairwells, the sound of someone pacing or moving deliberately, though the lighthouse is empty. The sensation is subtle, almost imperceptible at first, yet it grows as the light fades and shadows deepen around the walls. Inside the lighthouse, the spiral staircase creaks under the weight of footsteps, real or imagined. The air is cool and heavy, and the dim light from the setting sun casts long, shifting shadows across the walls. Visitors often describe a feeling of being watched, a presence that follows them as they ascend toward the lantern room. Some have glimpsed shadowy figures near corners, vanishing when approached, leaving behind only a lingering sense of unease and curiosity. The cliffs surrounding Point Reyes are equally compelling and foreboding. The Pacific crashes against jagged rocks, sending spray high into the air, and the sound carries across the coast in eerie, echoing patterns. Here, some have reported seeing apparitions of shipwreck victims, their forms outlined briefly against the fog before dissolving into the mist. These sightings are accompanied by sudden drops in temperature, a cold that cuts through layers of clothing, as if the spirits of those lost at sea reach out to touch the living. Lighthouse keepers who once tended the light lived in isolation. Their lives intertwined with the rhythms of the ocean. It is said that some of their spirits remain, carrying out the duties they performed in life. Pacing the hulls, checking the lamps, and keeping watch over the turbulent waters. Visitors often feel their presence most keenly near the top of the tower, where the panoramic view of the cliffs and ocean is both breathtaking and unsettling. The wind can sound like whispers, and the cries of gulls echo like distant voices, adding to the sense that the lighthouse is alive with memory. Fog frequently blankets the coast, rolling in from the ocean and wrapping the cliffs in a thick, ghostly veil. Lights appear where none should be, moving and shifting like lanterns carried by unseen hands. Shadows linger longer than natural, and some report hearing distant calls or muffled voices, as if those who died along the rocky shores are still trying to communicate. The combination of natural beauty and spectral phenomena makes Point Reyes Lighthouse a place of profound fascination and quiet tension. The tower itself is a testament to human endurance and maritime history. Its walls have witnessed decades of storms, shipwrecks, and isolation. Many who visit the lighthouse describe an overwhelming sense of history pressing in from every direction. A feeling that they are stepping into a space where time folds upon itself. Cold drafts sweep through the stairwells. Footsteps echo without source. And figures seem to move just beyond the corner of vision. All suggesting that the lighthouse is not merely a monument, but a keeper of memories and spirits. At night, the view from the top becomes otherworldly. The ocean stretches endlessly, waves reflecting faint light from the moon. While the cliffs are reduced to dark silhouettes. Here, the most vivid reports occur. Visitors describe feeling a presence beside them. A weight in the air. And the inexplicable certainty that they are not alone. Glimpses of shadowy forms. Lights moving independently of any source. And a persistent sense of vigilance. Leave a lasting impression. A reminder that the past lingers even in remote places. Point Reyes Lighthouse is more than a functional structure. It is a living testament to those who devoted their lives to the sea. The spirits of keepers, shipwreck victims, and those who perished along the coast continue to be felt by those who walk its stairs and wander the cliffs. The stories of phantom footsteps, shadowy figures, and ghostly lights are repeated by generations of visitors. Each encounter adding to the layered history and supernatural reputation of the site. As one descends from the tower, the echoes remain. The cold drafts follow down the spiral staircase. And the memory of lights and shadows lingers. Point Reyes Lighthouse stands as a sentinel. Not only for mariners but for the past itself. A place where human history and the unexplained converge. The cliffs, the ocean, and the tower together create an atmosphere that is both beautiful and haunting. Inviting reflection on the lives and spirits that continue to dwell in this isolated corner of the California coast. Even in daylight, the lighthouse exudes a quiet intensity. But at night it becomes a bridge between worlds. Those who visit carry away more than views of the sea and cliffs. They carry a sense of having glimpsed the lingering presence of those who came before. Point Reyes Lighthouse remains steadfast, a guardian over both the living and the memories of the past. Where the ocean meets the cliffs. And the unseen continues to watch. Cape Lookout Lighthouse rises from the barrier islands of North Carolina, a solitary sentinel facing the vast Atlantic Ocean. Its black and white striped tower has guided countless sailors through treacherous waters for over a century, a beacon of safety amidst shifting sands and turbulent waves. A beacon of safety amidst shifting sands and turbulent waves. Yet beyond its role as a guardian of the sea, the lighthouse holds a more elusive and mysterious presence, whispered among visitors and locals alike. Whispered among visitors and locals alike. The lighthouse sits on a narrow spit of land, surrounded by shifting dunes and tidal marshes. During the day, gulls will overhead and the sunlight sparkles across the water, casting long shadows over the sandy terrain. At night, however, the atmosphere changes. The fog rolls in from the ocean, thick and heavy, obscuring the horizon and softening the edges of the world. In this quiet, ethereal space, the lighthouse takes on a spectral quality, as if the past has not fully released its hold. Visitors often speak of ghostly keepers patrolling the light. These figures move with purpose, pacing along the tower balcony. Or tending the lamp as if it were still their duty. Some are glimpsed through the fog, shadows shifting against the backdrop of the glowing lantern room. Others appear fleetingly at the top of the spiral stairs. Vanishing when approached, leaving only the echo of footsteps or the faint scent of salt and oil. The presence is subtle yet unmistakable, a reminder of the lives devoted to guiding ships safely to shore. The surrounding fog adds to the lighthouse's mystique. Unexplained lights sometimes flash within the haze, small glimmers that appear near the sand or hover over the water. They shift and vanish without warning, leaving observers uncertain of what they have seen. Others appear as sudden bursts of illumination, briefly revealing the landscape in stark relief before retreating into shadow once more. Cold drafts often accompany these strange occurrences, brushing against the skin in the still night air. The chill seems to come from nowhere, rising from the sand or seeping through the walls of the tower. Visitors describe the sensation as sudden and intense, a physical reminder that the lighthouse is a place where the natural and the supernatural intersect. Even when the wind is calm, these icy currents create an atmosphere of tension, heightening awareness of every creak, shadow, and shifting shape in the fog. The history of Cape Lookout Lighthouse is etched into every brick and railing. Keepers once endured long, lonely nights, tending the light through storms, isolation, and the harsh demands of their work. It is said that some of their spirits remain, bound to the lighthouse by a sense of duty that transcends death. Doors creak as though moved by invisible hands, metal fixtures rattle, and the occasional murmur of a voice drifts through empty rooms. These signs are subtle, yet they weave a narrative of continuity, connecting the present to a past that is never entirely gone. The surrounding landscape enhances the sense of isolation and mystery. Windswept dunes, tidal flats, and marshes frame the approach to the tower, creating an environment that is both beautiful and eerie. The sound of waves lapping against the shore, combined with the occasional cry of a distant gull, provides a natural soundtrack for the lighthouse's spectral activities. Within this setting, shadows seem to move with intent, and the interplay of fog and moonlight gives fleeting glimpses of figures that may or may not be there. The interplay of fog and moonlight gives fleeting glimpses of figures that may or may not be there. Even in daylight, the lighthouse holds an aura of the uncanny. Sunlight casts long, stark shadows across the black and white stripes. And reflections shimmer on the water in ways that suggest hidden movement. These sightings are often brief, easily dismissed by the rational eye. Yet they persist in accounts of those attuned to the lighthouse's history and atmosphere. Cape Lookout Lighthouse remains a place where history, nature, and mystery converge. The combination of ghostly keepers, unexplained lights, and sudden chills creates an environment that is both captivating and unsettling. Visitors leave with a heightened awareness of the unseen, carrying with them the memory of shadows along the balcony, the flicker of spectral lights, and the weight of centuries-old presence that refuses to be forgotten. As the first light of dawn touches the Atlantic, the ghostly figures recede with the night. Yet the sense of watchfulness lingers in the minds of those who have witnessed it. Cape Lookout is more than a navigational aid. It is a repository of memory, a monument to dedication, and a stage where the natural world and the spectral realm intersect. Every gust of wind, every shifting shadow, and every flicker of light reminds visitors that some places retain echoes of the past, inviting reflection, curiosity, and a quiet acknowledgement of the unknown. In the end, Cape Lookout Lighthouse stands as a sentinel not only for sailors at sea but also for the stories, spirits, and mysteries that define its history. Where the presence of the unseen is felt, where the dedication of past keepers endures, and where every visitor is granted a glimpse into a world that exists alongside our own, quietly observing, patiently waiting, and forever guarding the edge of land and sea. Rising from the rugged cliffs of Oregon's coastline, a beacon of guidance and safety for mariners since the late 19th century. Its stark white tower commands attention against the endless expanse of the Pacific. A steadfast presence amidst crashing waves and the relentless wind. Yet behind its practical purpose lies a story woven with mystery and the quiet presence of those who once lived and worked within its walls. Visitors to Whitehead often speak of an unusual energy that permeates the lighthouse. The spiral stairwell, worn smooth by generations of keepers, seems to echo with more than footsteps. Some claim to see fleeting figures ascending or descending the stairs, disappearing when approached. Others describe the sensation of being watched, a presence hovering just beyond the corner of vision. The lighthouse, though empty at times, feels alive with memory and unseen activity. Whispers have been reported throughout the lighthouse, soft and indistinct, as if conversations from the past persist in the air. Lights flicker in rooms where no one is present, casting shifting shadows along the walls. These occurrences are subtle, yet they leave a lasting impression on those who witness them, an unshakable sense that the history of the lighthouse is not confined to books or plaques but exists as a living part of the structure itself. The history of Yaquina Head Lighthouse is inseparable from the lives of the keepers who maintained it. These men and their families faced harsh conditions, enduring storms that lashed the cliffs. A constant vigilance to ensure the safety of those at sea. Their work was relentless and solitary, a constant vigilance to ensure the safety of those at sea. It is easy to imagine that their dedication, and sometimes tragedy, has left an imprint, lingering in the very air that surrounds the lighthouse. As the sun sets over the Pacific, the lighthouse transforms. The beam of its lantern sweeps across the dark waters, illuminating the jagged coastline and sending a signal of safety to those navigating the night. Yet as the light rotates, some visitors report noticing movements that do not belong to the wind or wildlife. Shadows that move independently of passing clouds, glimpses of figures in period clothing. And the inexplicable sense of footsteps echoing behind them evoke a profound and eerie awareness of the lighthouse's human history. The surrounding landscape enhances the lighthouse's aura of mystery. Cliffs plunge dramatically into the ocean, and tide pools glisten like dark mirrors, reflecting shapes that seem not entirely of this world. In these moments, the lighthouse appears as a threshold, a place where the boundary between the living and those who have passed is thin and permeable. Inside the lighthouse, the keeper's quarters provide the most compelling accounts of paranormal activity. Footsteps traverse hallways long after the last visitor has departed. Doors open and close on their own. And the faintest echo of conversation can be detected where no one stands. These subtle occurrences serve as reminders of the lives devoted to the lighthouse, a history of quiet courage and diligence preserved. Not only in records but in the lingering presence of those who once walked its corridors. The lighthouse's isolation amplifies the sense of the uncanny. High on the cliffs, surrounded by the roar of the ocean and the cries of seabirds, visitors are alone with the weight of centuries of maritime history. The cries of the wind, the distant crashes of waves, and the shifting light create a setting where imagination and reality intertwine. It is no surprise that some interpret these experiences as contact with the spirits of past keepers, the guardians of a lighthouse that has served as both guide and witness to countless journeys. Yaquina Head Lighthouse continues to operate, a functional aid to navigation, yet it retains an air of timelessness. Each storm that sweeps across the cliffs, each tide that laps against the rocks, reinforces the enduring presence of those who once lived and worked here. Their legacy is carried in the subtle movements, the unexplained lights, and the whispers that persist in the quiet moments between day and night. Visiting Yaquina Head is more than a journey to a historic structure. It is an encounter with a place where human perseverance, maritime history, and the mysteries of the unseen converge. The lighthouse stands as both sentinel and storyteller, preserving the echoes of the past, inviting all who enter to witness, to wonder, and perhaps, to feel the presence of those who have not yet left the world behind. For those who climb its spiral stairs, explore the quarters, or simply watch the light sweep across the Pacific, it is a reminder that history is not always silent, that the deeds, struggles, and spirits of those who came before continue to inhabit the spaces they once called home. Yaquina Head Lighthouse remains a beacon in more ways than one, illuminating the ocean and the unseen world that resides quietly within its walls. Perched on jagged cliffs along the Northern California coastline, St. George Reef Lighthouse stands as a testament to human determination against nature's fury. The relentless waves crash against the rocks below, sending plumes of sea spray into the air and echoing against the stone walls of the lighthouse. Its isolated location, surrounded by the vast Pacific Ocean, has made it both a vital guide for sailors and a place steeped in tales of danger and the unknown. Visitors approaching the lighthouse often feel an immediate sense of awe, mixed with unease. The cliffs are treacherous, and the wind howls with a constant intensity that seems to carry the voices of the past. It is here, along the narrow pathways and the top of the lighthouse itself, that shadowy figures have been reported. Some describe them as faint silhouettes, standing at the edge of the cliffs, watching the horizon as if eternally waiting for ships that may never arrive. Inside the lighthouse, the atmosphere shifts. The stone walls retain the chill of the ocean. And each step along the narrow staircases resonates with an echo that seems to come from nowhere. Visitors have recounted hearing footsteps behind them, soft at first, then growing louder, though no one else is present. Occasionally, a low murmur drifts through the rooms, resembling voices carried by the wind, or perhaps the whispers of those who once kept the light burning through storm and darkness. The lighthouse was constructed in response to numerous shipwrecks along the St. George Reef, a hazardous stretch of water notorious for its hidden rocks and violent waves. Many sailors lost their lives here, and some believe their spirits remain, bound to the cliffs and the light that was meant to protect them. Apparitions are said to appear during stormy nights, when the ocean roars and the wind carries the cries of the past. Shadows flit across the windows, vanishing when approached, leaving only the sound of the surf below and the echo of an empty staircase. Even during calmer days, the lighthouse maintains a sense of solitude and suspense. The light continues its rhythmic sweep across the water, casting long shadows over the cliffs and the surrounding sea stacks. From a distance, figures have been seen standing at the top of the lighthouse, motionless against the sky, disappearing when anyone attempts to get a closer look. The isolation of the location amplifies these experiences, creating a space where the imagination and memory of past tragedies converge. Visitors report a sensation of sudden cold when entering the lighthouse, an abrupt chill that contrasts with the otherwise crisp sea air. Doors may swing open or closed without cause, and objects sometimes shift as though guided by unseen hands. These subtle occurrences, combined with the powerful natural elements, create an environment in which the ordinary and the spectral seem to coexist. Every detail, from the echo of footsteps to the whisper of wind through a cracked window, heightens the feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. The cliffs themselves seem alive with history. The sound of waves crashing against the rocks is a constant reminder of the treacherous waters that claimed so many lives. Those who walk the paths along the lighthouse speak of fleeting figures at the edges of vision, moving with purpose but fading when confronted. The stories told by visitors over the years converge into a narrative of vigilance, loss, and enduring presence. Storms intensify the lighthouse's spectral reputation. During heavy rain or fog, the beam of the light cuts through thick mist, creating moving shadows on the rocks and cliffs. It is during these times that witnesses are most likely to see the apparitions of sailors, some appearing to climb the stairs or stand at the railings, forever performing the tasks they could not finish in life. Even the sound of the ocean becomes layered, with the roar of waves mixing with faint cries that seem to originate from the cliffs themselves. The lighthouse continues to attract historians, adventurers, and paranormal enthusiasts. Its remote location ensures that each visit feels like stepping back in time, where the past is tangible and the natural world dominates. The combination of treacherous cliffs, powerful surf, and reports of shadowy figures creates a compelling narrative, blending human ingenuity with the enduring mysteries of the sea. Visitors often leave with a lasting impression, not merely of the scenic views, but of the lingering presence of the past. The rhythmic sweep of the lighthouse beacon, the sound of the wind, and the occasional sight of a figure along the cliffs serve as a reminder that this place has been both a protector and a witness to countless tragedies. St. George Reef Lighthouse remains a beacon of both light and legend, standing resilient against the elements while quietly harboring the stories of those who came before. Even after leaving the cliffs behind, the sense of isolation and mystery remains. The wind carries the memory of shadowy figures. And the crash of distant waves evokes the history of lives lost to the sea. St. George Reef Lighthouse is more than a guide for ships. It is a monument to human endurance, a testament to tragedy. And a place where the spectral and the natural world converge in haunting harmony. Assateague Lighthouse rises from the rugged Oregon coastline, perched high above cliffs that plunge into the restless waters of the Pacific Ocean. By day, its white walls gleam against the backdrop of dense forest and crashing waves, guiding ships safely along treacherous shores. Yet as dusk descends and the fog rolls in from the ocean, a different presence seems to awaken, one that whispers of the Lighthouse's past and the lives devoted to its light. Visitors climbing the steep path to the lighthouse often sense the change before they reach the tower. The air grows cooler, carrying with it the scent of salt and the faint echo of waves against rock. Footsteps along the winding trail sometimes sound heavier than they should, as if accompanied by unseen company. Shadows shift unnaturally across the forest floor, and glimpses of movement catch the corner of the eye, vanishing when looked at directly. Glimpses of movement catch the corner of the eye, vanishing when looked at directly. Inside the lighthouse, the spiral staircase curves upward, worn smooth by decades of human traffic. Those who ascend describe a feeling of being observed, a presence moving silently just beyond their sight. The walls seem to hold the memory of past keepers, their dedication and isolation preserved in the echo of each step. Lights occasionally flicker along the lantern room, not from malfunction, but as if signaling messages from the past. Visitors have reported seeing ghostly figures moving methodically, patrolling the tower as they did in life, ensuring the beacon remains steadfast against the dark ocean beyond. The cliffs surrounding Assateague are both beautiful and forbidding. Waves crash against jagged rocks, sending plumes of spray into the misty air. While the wind carries the sound of gulls and the ocean, mingling with whispers that seem almost human. Some have seen apparitions along the cliff edge, figures watching the horizon as though searching for lost ships or guiding the living with invisible hands. Some have seen apparitions along the cliff edge, figures watching the horizon as though searching for lost ships or guiding the living with invisible hands. Others report sudden drops in temperature, chills that seem to follow them even in daylight. A reminder that the spirit of the lighthouse and its keepers lingers long after their time has passed. The lantern room, with its panoramic view of the coastline and the vast Pacific, is a focal point for many of the reports. Lights flash unexpectedly, moving in patterns that mimic the rotation of the original beacon or dart across the cliffs below. Visitors describe an eerie beauty, as though the lighthouse itself is alive, communicating in a language of light and shadow. The sensation is not frightening but profound, a bridge between the world of the living and those who dedicated their lives to guarding the shores. Fog often descends rapidly along the coast, thickening around the lighthouse and softening the edges of the cliffs. In this shifting landscape, shadows lengthen and bend in ways that defy logic. Ghostly figures sometimes appear briefly, standing motionless before vanishing into the mist. Footsteps echo along the stairwell and landing, yet no one is present. The interplay of natural elements and unexplained phenomena creates an atmosphere both captivating and unsettling, drawing visitors into a state of heightened awareness and curiosity. Assateague Lighthouse has stood since the late 19th century, its walls bearing witness to countless storms, shipwrecks, and the lives of those who maintained the light. Keepers lived in isolation, their days dictated by tides, weather, and the unending responsibility of the beacon. It is said that some spirits remain, continuing their duties in the ethereal realm. Those who encounter these presences often report a sense of calm and purpose, as if the lighthouse itself is tending to them in return, sharing the vigilance of those long past. Sharing the vigilance of those long past. The cliffs at sunset offer another dimension of the Lighthouse's story. The sky turns shades of orange and violet, reflecting off the waves, while mist curls along the rocks like ghostly fingers. Visitors recount seeing shadowy silhouettes along the edge, standing motionless against the horizon before disappearing into the fog. Phantom footsteps sometimes echo across the paths below, following hikers or those wandering the grounds alone. Lights appear where none should be, flickering across the cliffside and casting a spectral glow that is impossible to attribute to natural causes. Even in clear weather, the lighthouse carries an intensity that is impossible to ignore. The combination of history, isolation, and lingering spirits creates a powerful sense of connection to the past. Visitors often feel the presence of the keepers, their dedication and watchfulness imbued into every stone and stair. The experience is immersive, leaving a lasting impression long after the climb is complete and the view of the cliffs fades behind. Assateague Lighthouse is more than a beacon for sailors. It is a place where history and the supernatural converge. Where the memory of human devotion remains tangible. And where the unseen continues to observe the living. The cliffs, the ocean, and the tower together form an environment that is at once beautiful, haunting, and mysterious. Those who walk its paths, ascend its stairs, and gaze from its lantern room carry away more than views of the coast. They carry a sense of having encountered the spirits that remain, preserving the watch over the Oregon shoreline, and reminding all who visit that some presences endure long after the light has faded. At night, the fog thickens and the ocean sounds grow more intense. Assateague Lighthouse glows faintly against the darkness, a sentinel not only for ships but for the memories and spirits of the past. Phantom keepers patrol silently, lights flash in patterns that defy explanation, and shadows linger along the cliffs, unseen yet profoundly felt. Phantom keepers patrol silently, lights flash in patterns that defy explanation, and shadows linger along the cliffs, unseen yet profoundly felt. It is a place where the ordinary and the extraordinary intersect, and where the living are reminded that history, duty, and the unknown continue to coexist on the edge of the Pacific. Nubble Lighthouse stands at the edge of Cape Hatteras, Maine, perched upon a rocky outcrop where waves crash relentlessly against the cliffs. Its white tower and red roof shine brightly by day, a familiar landmark for sailors navigating the rugged coastline. Yet when night falls, the lighthouse transforms, becoming a place where history, the sea, and the unknown converge, a location steeped in tales of the supernatural and lingering spirits. Visitors arriving at Nubble Lighthouse in the quiet hours often sense a shift in the atmosphere. The wind carries the scent of salt and seaweed, sharp and invigorating, while the waves pound against the rocks in steady rhythm. It is a place of natural beauty and raw power, yet an air of unease lingers beneath the calm exterior. Those who have spent time on the cliffs speak of ghostly lights appearing along the shoreline, small glimmers that dance over the water or hover near the rocks, vanishing when approached. Shadowy figures are another common phenomenon. Some appear near the lighthouse itself, moving silently along the path, or pausing at the edge of the cliffs. Visitors describe shapes that resemble former residents. Figures dressed in clothing from past centuries, as if the passage of time has not touched them. These apparitions often vanish as quickly as they appear, leaving behind only a chill in the air and the sound of distant waves. The lighthouse has a long history intertwined with the perils of the sea. Shipwrecks were once common along this stretch of coast, and the loss of life left an indelible mark upon the area. Some say the spirits of sailors who perished in these accidents linger still, drawn to the lighthouse as a guiding beacon even in death. On foggy nights, the outline of a figure may be glimpsed walking along the rocks, or a soft light might appear, drifting across the water in patterns that cannot be explained by any earthly source. Visitors often report unexplained sounds. The steady roar of the ocean is punctuated by faint footsteps along the cliffs. Whispers carried on the wind, and creaking that seems to echo from the lighthouse itself. Some have heard the sound of doors opening and closing in the empty tower, or the faint hum of a lamp that no longer burns. These subtle signs create an immersive experience, blurring the line between the natural environment and the presence of the unseen. The fog that often envelopes Nubble Lighthouse intensifies the sense of mystery. Shapes appear through the mist, some seemingly solid, others flickering like shadows in candlelight. Witnesses insist that what they have seen is more than a trick of light or a figment of the mind. The fog acts as a veil, revealing glimpses of a world that coexists with our own, a world shaped by memory, tragedy, and lingering spirits. The history of those who lived and worked at Nubble Lighthouse is etched into every beam and railing. Keepers endured isolation, storms, and the constant responsibility of tending the light to protect sailors from the deadly rocks below. Some visitors claim to feel the presence of these former keepers, an invisible vigilance that continues long after their deaths. Their spirits are said to patrol the grounds, moving along the pathways or pausing at the lantern room, maintaining their eternal watch over the sea and the lighthouse. Nighttime brings out the most striking encounters. The combination of wind, waves, and shadows creates an environment where the supernatural feels tangible. Ghostly lights flicker across the water, silhouettes move across the cliffs, and sudden chills brush the skin. Those who experience these phenomena describe a sense of being watched, a subtle reminder that the lighthouse is more than stone and mortar. It is a living monument to history, tragedy, and the enduring presence of the past. Nubble Lighthouse embodies the intersection of nature and the supernatural. The cliffs, the ocean, and the tower itself serve as a stage for experiences that are both beautiful and unsettling. Visitors leave with lasting impressions, carrying memories of spectral lights, shadowy figures, and the faint echo of footsteps along the rocky paths. The lighthouse stands as a reminder that some places retain the imprints of history and the people who once inhabited them, lingering in the world long after their time has passed. As dawn approaches and the first light touches the Atlantic, the spirits seem to recede, blending into the natural rhythm of the ocean and cliffs. Yet the stories persist, told by those who have glimpsed the unknown, seen the light where none should exist, or felt the presence of figures who do not belong to the living world. Nubble Lighthouse is more than a navigational aid. It is a keeper of memories, a guardian of souls, and a place where the boundary between the past and the present remains thin, inviting curiosity, reflection, and the quiet acknowledgement of the mysteries that linger along the main coastline. Rising from the shifting sands of North Carolina's Outer Banks, Currituck Beach Lighthouse stands as a sentinel over the coastline, its red brick tower a symbol of guidance and resilience against the Atlantic's relentless winds. For more than a century, the lighthouse has served mariners, warning them of treacherous shoals and guiding their vessels safely to shore. Yet beneath its practical purpose lies a history steeped in mystery, where the line between the living and those who linger beyond is said to blur. Visitors to Currituck Beach Lighthouse often speak of a peculiar sensation upon approaching the tower. The sound of the waves crashing against the shore is accompanied by an eerie stillness, a pause in the natural rhythm that seems to signal that this place holds more than its physical presence. As one steps closer, the spiral staircase winding upward into the lantern room becomes a passage not only through space but through time, a conduit to the lives of those who once tended its light. Accounts of ghostly figures ascending the stairs are not uncommon. Many describe seeing shadowy forms climbing step by step, pausing as if aware of being watched, only to vanish when attention turns toward them. Some have reported hearing whispering voices, soft yet insistent, carrying a warning to leave. The origins of these phenomena remain unknown, yet they leave an indelible impression on those who witness them, an acknowledgement that the lighthouse is more than a structure of brick and mortar. The history of the Currituck Beach Lighthouse is intertwined with the dedication and solitude of its keepers. Men and women who maintained the light faced isolation, storms that battered the coast, and the ever-present danger of guiding vessels through perilous waters. Their lives were devoted to vigilance, often without recognition. And some suggest that their spirits remain, continuing their watch over the lighthouse and the sea it overlooks. Nightfall enhances the lighthouse's spectral atmosphere. As the last rays of sun fade, the tower casts long shadows across the sand dunes, and the beam of the lantern sweeps across the darkened coast. It is during these hours that visitors report the most vivid experiences. Steps echo in empty halls. Lights appear to flicker without cause. And the faint murmur of voices seems to rise from the walls themselves. In the chill of the evening air, the lighthouse feels suspended between past and present. A place where memory and mystery coexist. The spiral staircase, the heart of the lighthouse, holds some of the most compelling accounts of paranormal activity. Figures moving along the steps, sometimes glimpsed from the corner of the eye, evoke a sense of unfinished duty. Whispers of caution or farewell drift through the air, leaving a lingering impression of presences attentive yet distant. These subtle phenomena suggest that the lighthouse is not merely haunted but alive with the echoes of those who once inhabited it. The surrounding environment amplifies the sense of the uncanny. Where winds whip across dunes, tides shift unpredictably, and the oceana's roar dominates the landscape. In such a setting, isolation intensifies the perception of unseen presences. Fog rolls in from the Atlantic, curling around the base of the lighthouse, and the interplay of light and shadow creates an atmosphere ripe for mystery and speculation. Visitors recount moments when the air seems to shift suddenly, a cold draft brushing against the skin as though a hand unseen has passed by. Doors that had been secured appear ajar, and objects subtly displaced suggest a careful, deliberate presence. These experiences, though never threatening, evoke a profound awareness that the lighthouse is more than a historical monument. It is a keeper of stories, a guardian of memories, and a witness to centuries of maritime life and quiet tragedy. The legacy of Currituck Beach Lighthouse endures not only through its function but through the lingering imprint of those who dedicated themselves to its care. Every creak of the stairs, every flicker of the lantern, every whisper carried on the wind seems to echo with their continued presence. Visitors leave with more than photographs and memories of the coastal scenery. They depart with a sense of having glimpsed the unseen, having felt the watchful gaze of a lighthouse that guards both sea and spirit. Having glimpsed the unseen, having felt the watchful gaze of a lighthouse that guards both sea and spirit. Visitors leave with more than photographs and memories of the coastal scenery. They depart with a sense of having glimpsed the unseen, having felt the watchful gaze of a lighthouse that guards both sea and spirit. They depart with a sense of having glimpsed the unseen, having felt the watchful gaze of a lighthouse that guards both sea and spirit. Exploring Currituck Beach Lighthouse is a journey through history and the unknown. Each step along its spiral staircase, each glance across the foggy shoreline, invites contemplation of those who came before, and the possibility that some part of them remains. The lighthouse stands as a sentinel of guidance, a monument to human perseverance, and a place where the boundary between the tangible and the spectral is both delicate and undeniable. For those who venture to its base and ascend its winding stairs, the Currituck Beach Lighthouse offers an experience that transcends architecture and landscape. It is a reminder that history is never entirely silent, that the dedication of those who safeguarded the light continues to resonate, and that the spirits of the past may linger still, guiding, observing, and whispering across the sands and the sea. And the sea. And the sea. Perched on the rugged Oregon coastline, Cape Meares Lighthouse stands as both a guiding light and a sentinel over a history of perilous seas. The cliffs rise sharply from the Pacific, their edges battered by relentless waves that churn and crash below. This isolated location, framed by dense forests and the expanse of the ocean, has long inspired awe and unease. Visitors often speak of a tangible sense of history and lingering presence, as if the lighthouse itself remembers the tragedies of the waters it watches over. As if the lighthouse itself remembers the tragedies of the waters it watches over. The lighthouse was built to warn sailors of treacherous rocks and unpredictable currents that claimed countless lives. Over the decades, numerous shipwrecks occurred near these cliffs, each leaving behind stories of sorrow and survival. Some who have walked the paths here report seeing phantom figures moving along the edges, figures that vanish when approached. These apparitions are often described as translucent silhouettes, their forms echoing the sailors who perished in the waves, forever tethered to the coastline. Inside the lighthouse, the air carries a chill that seems older than the stone walls themselves. Visitors have reported doors slamming unexpectedly, sometimes after hours of silence. And a feeling of being watched even when no one else is present. The narrow spiral staircase amplifies each footstep, creating an echo that seems to come from the past. Some claim to hear the faint creak of boards above or the soft murmur of voices. Whispers carried by the wind that seem to emanate from nowhere. The cliffs surrounding Cape Meares are both beautiful and foreboding. The Pacific fog rolls in, obscuring the ocean and adding a layer of mystery to the landscape. It is during these foggy evenings that the lighthouse's haunted reputation is most strongly felt. Visitors often report seeing shadowy figures at the cliff's edge, standing silently and gazing out to sea. The figures seem intent on watching the horizon, as though waiting for ships that will never return. Their presence a reminder of the many lives lost to these unforgiving waters. The lighthouse itself has stood through decades of storms and change. Its beam continues to sweep across the ocean, a symbol of guidance for those navigating dangerous waters. Yet, the stories of ghostly encounters persist. Some visitors describe feeling sudden chills when climbing to the top, a drop in temperature that has no natural explanation. Others report catching glimpses of movement in the corners of their vision, or hearing footsteps that vanish the moment they turn to look. These experiences, though fleeting, contribute to the sense that the lighthouse is more than a historic structure. It is a place where the past and present intersect. Stormy nights heighten the eerie atmosphere of Cape Meares. The wind howls through the tower and along the cliffs, carrying with it the sound of waves crashing against the rocks. During these times, the lighthouse appears to come alive with echoes of the past. Visitors describe seeing spectral sailors climbing the stairs or standing near the railings. Their forms illuminated briefly by flashes of lightning or the lighthouse beam. The combination of natural elements and unexplained phenomena creates an environment in which the ordinary and the supernatural seem to coexist. Even in daylight, the lighthouse exudes an air of quiet tension. The rocky cliffs, the dense forests behind, and the endless expanse of water ahead form a dramatic backdrop. Visitors walking along the paths often report a sense of being accompanied, a presence that is felt rather than seen. Sometimes a shadow moves across the periphery, disappearing when observed directly, leaving only the sound of the surf and the wind. These subtle occurrences, while easily missed, contribute to the enduring legend of Cape Meares as a haunted landmark. The history of Cape Meares is intertwined with tragedy. Each shipwreck, each lost life, adds a layer to the spectral presence that visitors claim to feel. The lighthouse stands as a witness to both human perseverance and human vulnerability, its walls holding memories of those who sought safe passage and those who never found it. Many who come here leave with more than photographs or memories of scenery, they carry a sense of having glimpsed the lingering spirits of the past, a connection to the history etched into the cliffs and the tower itself. For those drawn to the paranormal, Cape Meares Lighthouse offers a compelling destination. The combination of dramatic natural landscapes, historical significance, and reports of ghostly encounters makes it a location where mystery and history blend seamlessly. Visitors often recount moments when the wind seems to carry messages from the past, or when shadows move across the windows of the tower, fleeting yet unmistakable. These experiences reinforce the lighthouse's reputation as a place where the living and the spectral meet. Even after leaving, the stories of Cape Meares linger. The image of phantom sailors standing at the cliff's edge. The sudden slam of a door inside the tower. Or the echo of footsteps on the spiral staircase. Remain vivid. The lighthouse continues to shine, a beacon of both safety and mystery. Its presence is a reminder of the power of nature, the fragility of life, and the enduring impact of history. Cape Meares Lighthouse endures as a symbol of guidance, tragedy, and the unexplained. Standing watch over the Oregon coastline for generations past, present, and those yet to come. Cape Nettic Lighthouse stands proudly on the rocky coast of Maine, its white tower rising against the ever-changing sky and the ceaseless roar of the Atlantic Ocean. By day, it is a symbol of guidance and safety, its light sweeping across the waves to warn sailors of the treacherous shore. Yet as night falls and the wind begins to howl, a different presence awakens, one that whispers of the lighthouse's long history and the keepers who devoted their lives to its care. Visitors approaching the lighthouse at dusk often feel the change in the atmosphere. The air grows cooler, carrying with it the scent of salt and seaweed. And shadows lengthen unnaturally across the cliffs and coastal paths. Some report seeing fleeting figures along the edges of the tower, moving silently, as if performing duties from a time long past. The wind carries a chorus of faint sounds. Footsteps echoing along paths that should be empty. Whispers almost carried by the waves. Inside the lighthouse, the spiral stairwell winds tightly, polished smooth by decades of human footsteps. Those who climb describe the sensation of being watched, an unseen presence moving just out of sight. Lights flicker unexpectedly along the tower, casting long, shifting shadows across the walls. Visitors have recounted glimpsing shadowy figures on the stairs, standing motionless before vanishing as if dissolving into the very structure of the lighthouse itself. Each step seems to hold a memory, a trace of the keepers who once maintained the beacon and the lives they safeguarded from the treacherous Atlantic waters. The cliffs surrounding Cape Nettic are rugged and dramatic. Waves crash violently against jagged rocks, sending plumes of salt into the night air. In the darkness, the outline of the lighthouse seems both comforting and eerie, a solitary sentinel against the vast ocean. Some who explore the area report sudden cold spots, a chill that moves with them, unconnected to the wind. Ghostly lights have been seen flickering across the cliffs or over the water, appearing and disappearing without any source, leaving observers with the unsettling sense of having crossed paths with something beyond the ordinary. The lantern room, perched at the top of the tower, offers a panoramic view of the Atlantic coastline. It is here that many of the most intriguing accounts occur. The light sometimes pulses in irregular patterns, and shadowy forms appear near the windows, as though watching the horizon for unseen ships. Some visitors have felt a presence standing behind them on the stairs, only to find no one there. The sensations are subtle yet profound. A combination of temperature shifts, unexplained sounds, and fleeting glimpses that linger in the mind long after leaving the lighthouse. Fog often rolls in swiftly from the ocean, enveloping the tower and cliffs in a thick, ethereal veil. Shadows bend and shift within the mist, creating illusions that seem almost alive. Figures sometimes appear at the edges of vision, motionless yet unmistakably present. The stairwell echoes with phantom footsteps, rhythmic and deliberate, as if a keeper is following the same path they once did every night. Lights flare in patterns that defy explanation, sometimes illuminating the walls with a ghostly glow that seems to pulse in time with the waves below. The history of Cape Nettic Lighthouse stretches back over a century, and the stories of its keepers remain embedded in its walls. Men and women who lived isolated lives tending the beacon dedicated themselves to the safety of others, often at great personal cost. It is said that some of their spirits remain maintaining the vigil they held in life. Visitors report a sense of calm and purpose in the presence of these apparitions. A silent communication that bridges the gap between the living and those who have passed. Climbing to the top of the lighthouse at night offers a unique experience. The ocean stretches endlessly, illuminated only by the lighthouse beam and the occasional shimmer of moonlight on the waves. Shadows move along the cliffs below, and the fog occasionally reveals figures standing at the water's edge. Footsteps and whispers echo faintly through the stairwell, seeming to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. The combination of natural beauty, history, and lingering spirits creates an atmosphere both haunting and compelling, drawing visitors into the narrative of the lighthouse itself. Even during clear nights, the lighthouse exudes an intensity that is difficult to ignore. The history, isolation, and unexplained phenomena intertwine to create a presence that is tangible. Visitors often feel accompanied, guided, or observed in ways that cannot be explained. The spiral stairwell, the lantern room, and the surrounding cliffs together hold a story of devotion, vigilance, and the enduring connection between the living and the past. Cape Hatteras Lighthouse is more than a beacon for sailors. It is a place where history and the supernatural converge. Where the dedication of former keepers is etched into every stone and step. And where the unexplained continues to captivate those who walk its paths. Phantom footsteps, flickering lights, and shadowy figures remind all who visit that some presences endure long after the work of the living is done. Preserving the vigilance of the lighthouse and the stories of those who once called it home. At night, the fog thickens, waves crash with relentless force, and the tower glows faintly against the darkness. Shadowy keepers patrol the stairwell, lights flare along the lantern room in unexplainable patterns, and the cliffs remain dotted with fleeting figures and mysterious glows. Cape Hatteras Lighthouse stands as a testament to history, devotion, and the unknown, a place where the past continues to live alongside the present, watching over the Atlantic and those who venture near its cliffs. St. Simon's Island Lighthouse rises against the horizon of Georgia's coastline, a sentinel that has guided countless sailors through treacherous waters for centuries. Its white tower gleams in the sunlight, and the red lantern at the top stands as a beacon for all who navigate the Atlantic. Yet beneath its historic beauty lies a layer of mystery, a place where the past seems to linger and the echoes of former keepers and sailors are felt long after their time has passed. Visitors who ascend the spiral staircase often report an immediate change in atmosphere. The air feels cooler, heavier, as if carrying the weight of the centuries that have passed within these walls. A faint draft brushes against the skin, even when the doors and windows are closed. Some have sensed the presence of unseen figures moving along the balcony, shadows that vanish when approached, leaving behind only the sound of creaking floorboards and the whisper of the wind. The lighthouse has a storied past, built during a time when the coast was both a gateway for trade and a perilous zone for ships. Sailors depended on its guiding light, while keepers dedicated their lives to ensuring its flame never faltered. Many faced storms, isolation, and personal sacrifice, and some met untimely ends. Locals say that these souls linger, bound to the lighthouse and its mission, walking the balcony at night, ensuring the light remains vigilant. Unexplained lights are another phenomenon reported at St. Simon's Island Lighthouse. Guests often speak of small orbs drifting along the railings or appearing on the cliffs below, moving with intention yet eluding capture. The lights have been described as both warm and chilling, casting an otherworldly glow across the interior and exterior of the tower. Some believe these are the spirits of sailors, still drawn to the lighthouse, searching for safe passage or trying to warn of unseen dangers along the coast. Whispers accompany these strange lights. They are fleeting and subtle, sometimes rising and falling with the ocean breeze. Visitors have described hearing their names spoken softly or the faint murmur of conversations from long ago. The voices seem to come from the walls themselves, echoing off the stone and wood, as if the lighthouse itself remembers the stories of those who lived, worked, and perished within its presence. The spiral staircase provides a unique perspective of the lighthouse and the surrounding coastline, and it is here that the presence of former keepers is most strongly felt. Many report a sense of being followed, a subtle pressure on the shoulders, or the impression of someone ascending the steps behind them. Though the staircase is narrow and enclosed, no one is seen, yet the sensations persist, a reminder that the lighthouse is more than a structure of brick and mortar. It is a vessel of memory and lingering spirits. Stormy nights amplify the eerie nature of the lighthouse. Lightning illuminates the tower in stark flashes. And the roar of waves crashing against the shoreline fills the air. During these times, the experiences of visitors intensify. Shadows dart across the walls. Footsteps echo in empty rooms. And the air seems charged with an unseen energy. Those who have spent the night within the lighthouse describe a mix of awe and apprehension. Captivated by the history yet unsettled by the presence of the unknown. The lighthouse grounds also hold remnants of the lives connected to it. Old keeper houses, weathered fences, and historic artifacts create an environment rich in history and possibility. Visitors often report feeling watched as they explore the area, an invisible presence that moves among the structures and across the grounds. The spirits that linger seem tied not only to the tower itself but to the broader landscape, encompassing the stories of sailors lost at sea and keepers who devoted their lives to protecting others. At the top of the lighthouse, the panoramic view of the Atlantic is breathtaking. During the day, the waves sparkle under the sun, and the coastline stretches endlessly. At night, however, the scene transforms. The sound of the ocean mingles with whispers that seem to emanate from the past. The convergence of natural beauty and spectral presence makes the experience deeply immersive, a blend of wonder and unease that stays with those who witness it. St. Simon's Island Lighthouse stands as a testament to both human perseverance and the enduring mysteries of the past. Its history is etched into every brick and railing, preserved in stories and sightings that span generations. Visitors leave with memories of cold drafts, shadowy figures, and unexplained lights that linger in the corners of vision. The lighthouse is more than a guiding beacon, it is a keeper of history, a guardian of souls, and a reminder that the echoes of the past are never far from those who dare to look closely. Even as the sun rises and the Atlantic sparkles with morning light, the presence of the unseen remains, quiet but persistent. St. Simon's Island Lighthouse continues to watch over the coast, holding within its walls the stories of keepers, sailors, and countless visitors. It is a place where history and the supernatural intertwine, offering a hauntingly beautiful experience for those who seek to understand the mysteries that have persisted for centuries along Georgia's storied shoreline. Rising above the restless waters of Lake Pontchartrain, the New Canal Lighthouse stands as a solitary guardian of the Louisiana coastline. Built to guide mariners safely through the perilous entrance to the lake, the lighthouse has witnessed centuries of storms, tragedies, and the constant ebb and flow of maritime life. Its towering silhouette is a landmark for sailors. Yet beyond its practical purpose lies a legacy shrouded in mystery, where the line between the living and the departed is said to blur. Approaching the lighthouse, visitors often feel a subtle shift in the air. The wind carries the faint scent of saltwater and the echo of distant waves. There is a stillness here that seems to suspend time, as if the structure itself holds memories too deep to be spoken. Along the waterline, reports of mysterious lights flickering across the surface and shadowy figures moving near the shore have persisted for decades. These glimpses are fleeting, often vanishing when directly observed, leaving only an unsettling sense of presence. These glimpses are fleeting, often vanishing when directly observed, leaving only an unsettling sense of presence. The history of the New Canal Lighthouse is inseparable from the dangers of the surrounding waters. Shipwrecks were once common, and mariners relied on the lighthouse to navigate treacherous currents. Those who perished at sea are said to linger, their spirits drawn to the very beacon that was meant to save them. Witnesses describe figures appearing along the shoreline, sometimes resembling lost sailors in period attire, moving with a deliberate purpose before fading into the mist. Inside the lighthouse, the atmosphere carries an almost palpable weight. The narrow spiral staircase winds upward toward the lantern room, each step echoing in the empty tower. Visitors recount sudden drops in temperature as they ascend, and occasional glimpses of movement at the corner of the eye. Some have reported hearing footsteps or soft murmurs when no one else is present. These experiences suggest that the lighthouse is not only a witness to the tragedies of the past but also a participant in their ongoing presence. Nightfall transforms the new canal lighthouse into a place where legend and reality intertwine. As the sun dips below the horizon, the lake becomes a mirror reflecting the fading light. And the tower casts long, elongated shadows across the water. It is during these hours that reports of unexplained lights, drifting across the water or flickering within the lighthouse, are most common. Observers describe them as faint glows, appearing briefly before disappearing. As if the spirits themselves are attempting to communicate or retrace their last moments. The lighthouse's history is also marked by human struggle and perseverance. Keepers lived in isolation, tending the light through storms and the relentless heat of Louisiana summers. Their dedication ensured that countless vessels reached safety, but their solitary lives were often overshadowed by the dangers they faced. Some believe that the spirits of these keepers remain, continuing their vigil, moving silently through the tower, attending to the light even in death. Visitors often describe the surrounding environment as both beautiful and foreboding. The marshes and waterways of the region are alive with natural sounds. Yet there is a subtle, eerie undertone that permeates the area near the lighthouse. Fog drifts in from the lake, curling around the base of the tower and the shoreline, concealing the terrain and creating an atmosphere where shadows play tricks on the eyes. In this setting, the boundary between the living and the unseen feels particularly fragile. Accounts of paranormal activity are varied and compelling. Some have observed figures standing near the water, their outlines blurred by fog and distance. Others report hearing the distant creak of ship masts or the muffled cries of sailors carried across the water on the wind. Doors within the lighthouse have been said to open and close without cause, and objects subtly displaced suggest an unseen presence navigating the tower. These phenomena, though subtle, contribute to the enduring reputation of the lighthouse as a place touched by the past. Exploring the new canal lighthouse is more than a historical journey. Each step, each glance along the waterline, invites reflection on those who lived, worked, and perished here. The lighthouse embodies the spirit of vigilance, tragedy, and mystery. Its structure, while enduring and steadfast, is inseparable from the stories of those who remain, both in memory and perhaps in presence. Guiding, observing, and reminding all who visit that the past is never truly gone. As visitors depart, the new canal lighthouse remains, a silent sentinel over the lake. Its light continues to sweep across the waters, unwavering and vigilant. Whispers of history linger in the air. It is a keeper of memories, a witness to tragedy, and a haunting reminder of the fragile line between the living and those who remain unseen along the shores of Louisiana. Perched on the windswept cliffs of Rhode Island, the Block Island Southeast Lighthouse stands as a sentinel over the restless Atlantic. The tower rises proudly above the jagged coastline, its light sweeping across waves that crash relentlessly against the rocks below. From a distance, the lighthouse appears serene, a symbol of guidance and safety for sailors navigating the treacherous waters. Yet, for those who venture closer, the air carries a sense of lingering history, a feeling that the structure itself holds memories of those who tended its light and those who were lost at sea. The lighthouse was built to warn mariners of dangerous shoals and rocky outcrops that have claimed countless ships over the centuries. Its history is intertwined with the lives of dedicated keepers who lived in the adjacent dwellings, tending the beacon through storms, fog, and darkness. Visitors to the lighthouse often report glimpsing ghostly figures moving within the old keeper's quarters, figures dressed in the garb of a bygone era. These apparitions seem to move with purpose, as if still performing the duties they held in life, ensuring the light never faltered and the coastline remained protected. Inside the lighthouse, the atmosphere is thick with the echoes of the past. Some have reported lights flickering unexpectedly in rooms long abandoned, shadows shifting where no one is present, and a distinct sense of being watched. The spiral staircase creaks beneath the weight of unseen footsteps, each echo resonating as if time itself is folding in on the present. On stormy nights, the wind howls through the tower, carrying with it faint whispers that seem to drift from nowhere, blending with the roar of the ocean. The cliffs surrounding the lighthouse are both breathtaking and foreboding. The Atlantic stretches endlessly, its surface dark and restless. Visitors have described seeing ghostly figures along the edges, standing silently. These figures vanish when approached, leaving only the sound of wind and surf in their place. The haunting presence is subtle yet persistent, a reminder that the lighthouse has witnessed both human perseverance and tragedy. Many of the stories surrounding the lighthouse focus on former keepers who devoted their lives to tending the beacon. Even decades after their deaths, their presence is said to linger. Visitors recount sudden chills and fleeting glimpses of figures in hallways, moving with a familiarity that suggests an intimate knowledge of the tower and its routines. Some hear soft footsteps echoing behind them or whispers that rise and fall with the rhythm of the ocean breeze. These experiences contribute to the enduring legend of the lighthouse as a place where the past and present intersect. Stormy evenings intensify the eerie ambience of Block Island's southeast lighthouse. Lightning illuminates the tower and the surrounding cliffs, casting long shadows that seem to reach toward the waves. Visitors describe the sensation of unseen eyes upon them and the brief appearance of figures climbing the staircase or standing near windows. The combination of natural elements and unexplained phenomena creates a cinematic experience, one in which the ordinary and the spectral seem to coexist seamlessly. Even during daylight hours, the lighthouse retains an aura of quiet tension. The sound of seagulls, the spray of the ocean, and the wind through the cliffs create a dynamic backdrop for subtle and mysterious occurrences. Visitors have reported feeling the presence of someone nearby, a cold draft brushing past as they walk the grounds, or the impression of a shadow moving just beyond their vision. These fleeting sensations reinforce the lighthouse's reputation as a location where history and mystery converge. The history of the lighthouse is inseparable from the perilous waters it guards. Shipwrecks and rescues, stormy nights and calm dawns, have all left traces in the structure itself. The presence of ghostly keepers serves as a reminder of the dedication and sacrifice required to maintain the light, and of the many lives entwined with the coastal hazards. Visitors leave with more than photographs or memories of scenic views. They often carry a sense of having glimpsed the spirits that linger. A subtle yet profound connection to the past. For those drawn to the paranormal, the lighthouse offers a compelling and immersive experience. The combination of dramatic natural landscapes, historical significance, and reports of spectral sightings creates an atmosphere in which curiosity and suspense are heightened. The wind carries whispers across the cliffs, shadows flit across the walls of the tower, and the beam continues its sweep across the Atlantic, steadfast and unwavering. These experiences reinforce the notion that the Block Island Southeast Lighthouse is more than a historic landmark, it is a place where the living and the spectral meet. Even after departing, the impressions of Block Island Southeast Lighthouse remain vivid. The vision of ghostly keepers performing their duties. The sudden flicker of light in an empty room. And the echo of footsteps along the spiral staircase. The lighthouse continues to shine, guiding mariners safely, while standing as a testament to history, mystery, and the unexplained. Its presence on the Rhode Island coastline is a reminder of the enduring impact of the past, and the subtle, haunting ways it continues to touch the present. Inviting all who visit to witness a place where history and the supernatural converge. Lighthouses are meant to guide us through storms and darkness, yet these haunted towers show us that even the brightest lights cannot keep the past at bay. Every shadow, flicker of light, and whisper reminds us that spirits linger where tragedy, isolation, and mystery collide. Next time you visit a lighthouse, remember these haunted locations. Would you dare to climb a spiral staircase at midnight, knowing a ghostly keeper might be watching from above? Some lighthouses offer more than sweeping views, they are gateways to encounters with the unknown that will haunt your thoughts long after the visit ends.